And I'm Dylan Black. It's happening Saturday, June 9th at the Shaw Centre right here in Ottawa. It's the Canadian Celiac Association 2018 National Conference and Gluten-Free Vendor Fair. It's going to be a fun time for sure. Lots of information with us right now. Mark Johnson, who is the president of the Canadian Celiac Association, the Ottawa Chapter. How are you, sir?
Very good.
Good to have you here. Okay, so there's an Ottawa chapter, so that means that the Canadian Celiac Association will right across Canada.
Yes, we have 28 chapters right across the country.
So tell us exactly what the association's all about.
So it was founded in the late 1970s, and we're really involved in funding research on celiac disease and gluten sensitivity, building awareness campaigns, making sure people understand better. We work with restaurants, the medical professionals, industry to try to increase understanding of celiac disease and the need for gluten-free diet.
Okay, so let's understand together exactly what celiac disease is.
So celiac is an autoimmune disease. So what happens is when someone like me takes in gluten, the autoimmune system activates and damages the small intestine, which causes malabsorption. So I wouldn't be able to absorb calcium, proteins, fats, the things necessary for good health. And so the long-term complications of that can be, apart from malnutrition, there's a higher risk of cancer, osteoporosis, a whole host of things that can result from not absorbing the nutrients you need for good health.
Wow. Okay, now is this a condition that you're born with?
No, it is genetic, but it affects about 1% of the Canadian population. It can happen at any time in your life that the disease will strike.
Wow. Okay, so then how do you know? I mean, so I'm a 40-year-old guy. All of a sudden, can it just strike me? It
can. Celiac disease is notoriously difficult to diagnose, which is why some people go more than 10 years with symptoms without understanding what's going on. The symptoms are so varied. For me, it was the classical symptoms, which is gastrointestinal distress mostly, but some people will get migraines, unexplained anemia, fatigue. For children, there's a failure to grow properly, dental enamel defects. These can all be symptoms of celiac disease, and it makes it tough to figure out what's going on.
Very interesting. So I wonder how you are diagnosed. In the end, I mean, you'd go to see your doctor or possibly even emergency, depending on how bad you're feeling, and they would be able to diagnose what's going on?
Yes, so it's a multi-step process. So for me, it was gastrointestinal discomfort for about 2 years, and I went to the doctor and I can't understand what's going on, and they thought maybe it's gluten. So what happens is they send you for a blood test that looks for a certain antibody that is present in your blood if you are celiac. I was positive for that. And the next step was to send me to a gastroenterologist to get one of those biopsies down the throat to take a look at the small intestine and see if the damage that is present in a celiac was there, which it was, and that's the diagnosis.
So not super fun.
Not really,
getting
but
diagnosed.
At least it's down that way and not the other.
Okay, fair enough. Good point. Okay, so this event is happening on June 9th. Now, it's definitely hitting a bunch of different areas. The Gluten-Free Exhibitor Fair, let's talk about that one first. What's happening at this fair?
Sure, so we're going to have a couple dozen exhibitors of gluten-free products coming from right across Canada to showcase the latest and greatest in the world of gluten-free. So it's at the Shaw Centre from 10:30 till 4 on Saturday, June 9th. Anyone's welcome to attend. A very family-friendly event, lots of free samples, great deals on gluten-free products that are often hard to find in your local store. So we encourage everyone to come out, bring your family and friends, and they can find out how great gluten-free can be.
Okay, and then of course the conference is also a part of this day. So what's happening in the conference section?
So the vendor fair is happening alongside our national conference, which is an annual event, takes place at a different location across Canada each year. So it's in Ottawa this year on June 9th. And that involves bringing some of the latest research from the world of celiac and the gluten-free diet from across the globe. So we have speakers coming from Europe, from the United States. Also, Strawberry Blonde Bakery in Westboro is speaking about the challenges of operating a gluten-free business in today's industry. Dietitian, we have Health Canada and the CFIA coming to speak as well. So
okay. So it's a full day.
Yep, so anyone's welcome to check us out.
Yeah. Now you've brought some products with you as well, some edible products, maybe to shine a bit of a light on what is good and bad to be absorbed, taken in.
Yeah, some of the challenges with eating gluten-free is that you never know where gluten is hiding in products. People might see a breakfast cereal and not realize there's gluten in that, like it's just rice or corn, This one is labeled gluten-free, checks. It's my go-to most mornings. And things like, breads are some of the more obvious. There's obviously flour in bread. And it used to be very difficult to find a bread that was palatable, that was gluten-free, but there's so much out there now these days that it's a lot better than it used to be. Things like graham graham crackers, chips, sauces, gravies, mixes. Gluten can hide in all sorts of things, so we have to read the ingredient list every time.
Okay, but there's way more gluten-free products nowadays, which is a good thing. So there's more selection.
Yes, it's much easier. Like 20 years ago, our only source was the Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto had a little store there. Maybe online if you're lucky, but now the gluten-free products are in all the major supermarket chains, and their own brands have gluten-free product lines within those brands too.
Is there a risk to taking on a gluten-free diet if you're not suffering from this disease?
My response would be yes. The Canadian Celiac Association does not recommend the gluten-free diet for non-medical reasons. So we certainly don't advise going gluten-free because Kim Kardashian is doing it or because you heard that it might be healthy. That's often not the case. Because a lot of gluten-free products are higher in calories and lower in nutrients than their gluten-containing counterparts. And if you aren't careful, you might find you're shortchanging yourself on a gluten-free diet if you're not fully aware of what you're getting yourself into. So we definitely recommend consulting a dietitian and knowing where you stand medically before you go gluten-free. See your doctor, get checked out before you make the switch.
Just be careful, okay? The conference, the Gluten-Free Vendor Fair, as you mentioned a couple of times, Shaw Centre, Saturday, June 9th. I'm assuming for more information on this, and of course resources as well, can be found at your website.
Yes, ottawaceliac.ca. Please take a look.
All right, best of luck with your event coming up on June 9th. Mark Johnson, President, Canadian Celiac Association, Ottawa Chapter. Coming up, the Chio Barbecue. What's that all about? Well, we've got all the details for you next right here on Daytime Ottawa, Rogers TV.